UMass issues a warning to students before the holiday break, why they may be asked to come back to campus early. It's coming up. And Holyoke school leaders gathering today to discuss the idea of eliminating standardized testing. More from that meeting just ahead.
And southern New England seeing numerous large brush fires across the area, but some much needed rain is on the way. We'll talk about it in my first alert forecast.
Getting answers for Western Massachusetts. This is Western Mass News.
UMass Amherst has a new advisory for international students headed home for the holidays. You may want to return before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Welcome to Western Mass News at 6. I'm Abby Carnevale. And Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days is live in Amherst with more details. Wesley, it's tied to possible travel bans.
Yeah, that's right. You know, the university is doing something like looking back to look forward, right? They're looking back at the previous Trump administration's policies and travel bans, and they're trying to look ahead as he prepares to go back into the White House in a few months to see how possible travel bans from his administration could disrupt educational plans for international students. Tonight, I'm on campus with details and reaction from some of those students heading overseas.
Do stuff that is in your control and keep working hard.
Cool and calm amidst concern from UMass Amherst, the university out with a new advisory for international students headed back home for the holidays. The statement recommends, quote, that our UMass Amherst international community strongly consider returning to the United States prior to the presidential inauguration day of January 20th, 2025, based on previous experience with travel bans that were enacted in the first Trump administration in 2016.
Yeah, that's a big worry for an international student. Yeah.
Students headed back home, like one graduate student going overseas, understands the concern, but it won't upend his trip.
I'm an international student from India, and I'll be heading back to my home in India because my mother is a bit ill.
Others see the issue from a different standpoint. They may be from the U.S., but have loved ones who are not.
It does affect them in not good ways.
One New Jersey student, a part of the Muslim faith, will stick around for the holiday season. Her father may not.
My dad immigrated from Bangladesh, from Dhaka, in '92, I want to say. So he's been here longer than he was in Bangladesh. My grandmother has been getting really sick recently, and she actually never met my brother, who is 7. So my dad wants to go over there.
Reese's father and brother's new travel plans follow the same type of advice of her schools.
The original plan was for him to go over in February, but now he's moving it over earlier. So December, January, yeah.
Well, let's break down a couple of things. First and foremost, this is not based on any governmental idea or policy or recommendation at this point. This is the only advisory from the university standpoint as a way to look back at the former administration's travel bans. If students do want to come back early before January 20th, they are allowed to do so. They just have to get in contact with the school ahead of time. Reporting live in Amherst, Wesley Days, Western Mass News.
Well, today has been another first alert weather day due to red flag warnings, but those have now actually come down. It does not look like they're going to be reissued for tomorrow. Of course, it's always kind of touch and go. There are numerous large wildfires currently in progress across southern New England today, one in southern Berkshire County. Today's high temperatures just shy of 60 in the lower valley, some middle to upper 50s elsewhere, low 50s across the Berkshires. Now, we continue with dry weather tonight and tomorrow. So tomorrow we're likely to see more elevated brush fire risks. It might just come down a notch from today. Breezes are going to stay light and variable tonight. We're already down to the 40s. We've got fair conditions with maybe just a few scatter clouds coming in later tonight. Already seeing some 30s across the Berkshires, and temperatures overnight for everyone should get close to freezing or even dip back down below it. Breezes should eventually go calm for many of us during the overnight. And again, we'll see a couple of scattered clouds coming in out of the west. Tomorrow morning, we are going to start the day off a little chilly, but seasonably so. Nothing too crazy. And then once the day gets started, it's going to warm back up to near 60. But this is going to be the last mild day in our stretch this week. In fact, tomorrow's sun and clouds will also be the last really kind of nice weather day we see for a while, because we do have a big pattern shift coming, and it's going to start with some much needed rainfall on Thursday. Then it gets blustery and chilly with even a few snowflakes possible. We'll take a look at your full forecast in just a few minutes. Abby?
Jenna, thanks. New at 6, a woman in Huntington was killed after a head-on collision with a truck yesterday evening. The 74-year-old woman from Beckett collided with a cement truck on Pond Brook Road around 5 p.m. She was transported to Cooley Dickinson Hospital in Northampton before being transferred to Bay State Medical Center in Springfield. She died from her injuries just before midnight last night, and the crash is currently under investigation. We turn now to developing news out of Springfield, where the Teamsters Local 404, which represents AMR, Springfield, EMTs, and paramedics, has announced plans to go on strike this coming Sunday. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Stoddard joins us live in studio with more information from AMR and the Teamsters. Reagan?
Abby, AMR and the Teamsters are both claiming they want to reach a deal on a contract, but have yet to come to an agreement.
Contract negotiations have taken place between AMR Springfield and the Teamsters Local 404, which represents AMR EMTs and paramedics. On Tuesday, AMR responded to the news that the Teamsters intend to go on strike beginning Sunday, November 24th. According to AMR, their contract proposal goes beyond meeting expectations and includes an average 35% overall pay increase over 4 years, higher entry-level pay, ratification bonuses, fully employer-paid health benefits, enhanced retirement benefits, and an increased holiday pay. AMR claims the issue comes down to wording in the proposed contract.
The Teamsters are proposing language that would prevent our emergency medical providers from transporting patients in and out of hospitals where unions are on strike, except in what they deem as a life-threatening emergency.
AMR says they have plans set in place to continue to serve Springfield and Greenfield communities.
Bring in paramedics and EMTs to help make sure that there's no break in service for the Springfield residents and the communities that we serve.
Western Mass News spoke with Brian Donovan, the president of Teamsters Local 404 and union rep for AMR, who says the company has not given him a last and final agreement that he can put forward to employees.
I don't think that there's an avenue that hasn't been explored to keep this from going to a strike.
Donovan also states that he has filed 2 labor charges in the past because the Teamsters claim some of the facts presented by AMR are not 100% accurate.
The company has not reached out to me at all since I authorized the 10-day strike.
The Teamsters tell me if they are fully prepared for a strike, if they cannot move forward with negotiations. This strike would go into effect Sunday at 5 p.m. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Stoddard, Western Mass News.
Reagan, thank you so much. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or DESE, traveled to Western Mass today where they held their meeting at Holyoke High School. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lokri was at that meeting, and she joins us now live in Holyoke with updates. Reagan?
Yeah, that's right, Abby. They talked about a lot of things at today's meeting, including Holyoke's exit out of state control. But another hot topic was the end of the MCAS requirement for graduation.
Whether you've been in this country 6 months or a year, you expected to pass that test because one size fits all, and that is fairness. And to me, that is the definition of unfair.
During the 2024 presidential election, the ballots of voters here in Massachusetts spoke loud and clear.
I think the voters of Massachusetts were given one choice to articulate that we want change. I'm not sure it was the best articulation of the change we should have, but I think the voters do need to be listened to. The change needs to occur.
Question 2 passed in the Bay State abolishing the MCAS graduation requirement once and for all. This was a hot topic at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's board meeting Tuesday, where several districts spoke out on the topic. If you remember, back in 2015, Holyoke Public Schools was put under state receivership for chronic underperformance with years of low MCAS scores. Despite this, Holyoke Superintendent Anthony Soto says something is still needed to measure learning and make sure students are ready to graduate.
I don't think MCAS was the answer based on what people are how people feel about it. So the next question is, what is next? So how are we going to maintain those high standards and rigorous expectations on what it means to graduate?
Mayor Joshua Garcia says although he, as well as the majority of voters, leaders were in support of eliminating standardized testing as a graduation requirement, he feels there is a consensus that something different needs to be done.
It's almost like back to the drawing board, so that no matter what we do decide to go forward with to improve educational standards, that we're making sure that in that process, no group of kids are being left behind because of what neighborhood or what city or what your health disparity and challenges might be to pass a test to graduate.
Now, there's no word yet on what DESE is planning to do in place of the MCAS, but we'll, of course, continue to keep you updated on that. And as a reminder, Holyoke Public Schools is set to transition out of state receivership by July 1st of 2025. Reporting live in Holyoke, Reagan Logre for Western Mass News.
For the first time in 32 years, UMass Amherst field hockey is headed to the Final Four. I'm Matt Price. We'll hear from the team as they prepare for their next big game.
But before we go to break, we are going to take a look at traffic conditions on the viaduct. It is amazing to me how 6 o'clock hits and somehow that southbound traffic almost always disappears. It is officially out of the picture. Northbound, barely any cars out there. We are smooth sailing both directions. Western Mass News will be back in 2. Western Mass News is your local sports authority, and all eyes are right now at the UMass Amherst field hockey team. After pulling off 2 big upsets in the NCAA tournament over the weekend, the 14th ranked Minute women are headed to the Final Four. In fact, the team is traveling tonight to Michigan, but before that, players and their head coach spoke with Western Mass News reporter Matt Price as they reflect on what a historic season it's been in Amherst.
I haven't realized it yet. I just feel like that past weekend was so overwhelming. Like there were just so many emotions, like everyone was so happy.
Do you believe in Cinderella stories? The UMass Amherst field hockey team sure does. In fact, these women have been writing one of their own during the last few days in the NCAA tournament, clinching the program's 5th Final Four appearance and first since 1992.
As coaches, what you can do is lay out a plan, and it's up to the team to execute that plan. And they've done nothing but exceeded what we've asked of them this season.
Despite not winning the Atlantic 10 Conference tournament, UMass did just enough to clinch an at-large bid in this year's NCAA tournament. And this past weekend, they upset number 5 UConn and number 10 Harvard to reach the semifinals. Let's just say these players are energized.
If you would have asked at the beginning of the season, like, would you see yourself in the Final Four, we probably would have been like, I'm not sure about that, but right now it just feels so surreal.
Just play with confidence. If everyone's on their game, can play their way, then we'll be good. It's been an incredible season. The team's been working so hard, so it's really cool to see it's all paying off.
The Minute women are currently 17-5 and are hungry for more as they prepare to take on number 2 Northwestern, who beat UMass earlier in the season.
Just getting organized, making sure we're all bodies are feeling healthy and recovery's good after it was a tough weekend.
And no matter what happens this coming weekend, Coach Weinberg says she is proud of this group that she calls special.
To be able to come back and have another chance at UConn, have another chance at Harvard, and come back a second time and win both of those games. The team's calling it the revenge tour, so having another chance at Northwestern for a 3rd game that we lost during the season.
UMass and Northwestern will face off at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The winner will then take on either reigning champion North Carolina or St. Joseph's in the national championship on Sunday. In Amherst, Matt Price, Western Mass News.
And while field hockey is doing well, UMass football is looking to move on following the recent firing of former head coach Don Brown. The Minutemen have a 2-8 record so far this season, following a 35-34 loss to Liberty. New interim head coach Shane Montgomery took to the podium. He acknowledged that the atmosphere around UMass football has been tough, but they're moving forward.
Even though the wins aren't what you want it to be, I enjoyed every single day, and I think we owe a lot of gratitude to him for what he poured into this program, and we wish him and his family well as he moves on.
And they'll head to Athens, Georgia to take on the number 8 ranked Bulldogs. And this Saturday, they close out their season against the UConn Huskies on November 30th.
Several large brush fires burning today across southern New England, including one around Great Barrington in Berkshire County. There's another one in Cranston, Rhode Island that's quite large, and a few out in eastern Mass. This is the Great Barrington fire producing tremendous amounts of smoke. This was seen by one of our viewers today, Carl. Thanks to him for sending this one in. If you ever spot something like this, something, whether it's, brush fires or anything that's happening out there in the atmosphere or just around Western Mass, you can always send it to the Share It feature at westernmassnews.com or on the Western Mass News weather app, even if it's just something cool in the sky. This, unfortunately, is not a good thing. But what is good is that we have some rain coming soon, which should help with this situation. But two brush fires right now, the one in southern Berkshire County and the one out in northeastern Mass, producing some smoke. And that's the trails that you see here impacting the Cape and Islands and also Connecticut. Wind expected to take a shift to the southeast tomorrow afternoon. That's going to start pushing that smoke back to the northwest. So if you're north of Great Barrington, that smoke may head in your direction tomorrow. And even here across Western Mass, some of the smoke from the eastern wildfires may come our way with that wind shift tomorrow afternoon and evening too. Not really enough to cause any issues. You're not talking breathing concerns or anything like that, but it might be something you notice in the sky. Another thing we're going to notice is more cloud cover as a powerful storm system makes its way toward the east coast. Big area of low pressure across the northern plains. This upper level low is going to dive down toward the northeast as we head toward the weekend. Meanwhile, almost what would be considered a Cat 3 hurricane, at least, out across the Pacific Northwest. It is not a hurricane, but it's going to produce wind gusts of excessive 100 miles an hour for the Pacific coast. So a massive storm system there. For us, this one's not going to be too, record breaking, other than the fact that it's going to bring us the most rain we have seen in months. We have had less than an inch of rain over the last 2 months total. So we are expecting at least an inch of rain with this current system coming through. Tomorrow, though, it is going to be dry. We're going to start the morning off with some scattered cloud cover. Temperatures dropping back down to the low 30s to begin our Wednesday. Then as we head throughout the day, it's going to be mild, just like today. Temperatures climb back into the 50s to near 60 in the valley. Breezes will actually be light and variable tomorrow. So elevated fire concerns continue, but the red flag warning is not going to be extended. So tomorrow is going to be a dry, very mild day again. Enjoy it, because with this storm system also comes a pattern shift. So we've got this secondary area of low pressure that develops along the mid-Atlantic coast. This is going to amplify the precipitation that comes up out of the south for Thursday. Showers begin Thursday morning. Here we are at 8 a.m. The yellows, the oranges, the reds showing some soaking heavy rainfall. So that will persist throughout most of the day. It'll get blustery with wind due east as we head into Thursday night. Then the low will actually lift inland back into New York, plus the upper level low starts swinging through with some colder air aloft. This is going to allow rain to mix with and change to snow across the higher terrain. Now, there could even be a few flakes that mix in some of the lower end hill towns, but nothing's going to stick or accumulate. Unless you're above 1,500 feet, then you have the chance to pick up a couple of inches, especially, I would say, for Friday evening and Saturday on the western slopes of the Berkshires. That's where I think we could see some snow pickup. Now, as far as the rainfall forecast, an inch is possible. Could there be more than an inch? Sure, it is certainly expected on the eastern slopes of the Berkshires, but I think an inch in total is what most of us will end up with. Friday morning, maybe a few wet flakes for everybody, but I doubt it. I think it's mostly the hills. Then Friday afternoon, scattered showers. Saturday, wind shifts northwest, so we dry out in the valley, but snow showers could persist in the western slopes of the Berkshires. We'll have partly cloudy skies. It'll be blustery and chilly with highs in the 40s. We're back to mild weather early next week with a few shower chances even through Thanksgiving. Abby?
Jana, thanks. Coming up, MGM Springfield is supporting the YMCA during the season of giving. Find out how after the break. It's November, which means it's also the season of giving, and MGM Springfield is celebrating with a check donation at the YMCA of Greater Springfield. Treats were offered to kids and staff earlier today, and the dedicated funds from the check donation will go directly to youth programs at the YMCA. And in Agawam, a new park officially opened earlier today at 100 Pine Street in Feeding Hills called Stillbrook Park. The $6.3 million project is located on the site of former Tuckahoe Turf Farm. The park includes walking and hiking trails and allows for canoeing, kayaking, picnicking, and fishing. When we come back, Jenna has one last look at your first alert forecast. All right, it is time. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jana.
I thought I was just going to start talking.
We're ready to go. Jana, take it away.
So tomorrow's our last dry and mild day this week. We have some much needed rain on the way for Thursday with highs checking in the mid 40s. We could pick up around an inch and it's going to be blustery. Colder air dives in for Friday, changing some rain over to snow for the high to rain. And then showers will end Friday night and we're chilly for the weekend. Abby?
All right. Sorry, Jana, for stepping on your toes, but thanks so much. And from all of us here at Western Mass News, thank you for watching. Have a great night and we'll see you soon.